A new era in sim racing broadcasting always begins with a vision. Hello and welcome to Grid Vision's broadcast of the Champion Power Equipment Truck Series, tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as we conclude this season and of course going to be crowning a champion here, and it is going to be an awesome race. We saw a fantastic showing last week at Nashville Super Speedway, where I do believe Brian Lorenzo sent a Hail Mary pass into 3 and 4 and was able to get one over on Craig Yanzak. What a fantastic showing that was. Of course, my name is Brian Britt, and I'm joined in the booth by Jacob Reeves, newcomer here to the Grid Vision family. We definitely appreciate him joining us here tonight. How are you doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing good, Brian. How about you?
Oh, doing great. Ready to see some great racing here. Of course, 75 laps of action, and you kind of talked about it before we started the broadcast here. This is going to be a lot of flat-out, high-drafting kind of action, of course, here at Las Vegas. Of course, I neglected to mention that our awesome, always talented producer, Austin Derbyshire, down behind the camera is going to be bringing us all the action here at Las Vegas, and I think we're going to be maybe placing some bets here, Jacob.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Brian, what this is probably going to be is going to be like a roulette wheel. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have been in Vegas before, and, you know, they've seen that roulette wheel, and you got them 35 numbers. Well, you ain't got 35 cars out here, but you can basically pick any of these guys, and these guys is going to, I mean, anybody's got a shot to win it. You know, this is basically just Atlanta Motor Speedway. I guess you could say it's in a different area, but it's the same thing. These guys are going to be on fixed setups. It's going to be straight up, flat out, on the floor, wide open. And there you go. You see the track temp and the air temp right here. 78 degrees for the air temp. That's going to be a little bit hot for these guys to be drafting. You might see these guys bump drafting and staying in the draft. And like I said, you know, it's like we was talking about, Brian, going to be wide open all the way around this track. And them being right up each other's tailgates and everything, you got to watch that right there, because some of these guys might start trying to overheat, and that could cause some blown engines and also cause a big wreck.
Yeah, very much could. That is for a fact. Now, of course, mentioning we do have 2 sets of tires, one faster pair. I have been told that the fuel window is about 40 to 45, so I think tire wear is going to be something that will come into effect later. But yeah, I say essentially in the first 10, 15, maybe even 20 laps is going to be straight up, flat out. Of course, I do want to mention this is the championship race, and there has been an announcement that there is a money payout on the line for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth in the championship points here tonight. Of course, first gets $100, second gets $80, third place gets $60, fourth place gets $40, and fifth gets $20. So we're at Vegas, that is for sure. And speaking of those points, let's actually take a look at them right quick. And I'll bring that up in just a second. I do apologize. I had it up. And, of course, Robbie Kennealy, he has been really the one to talk about all season long, has 6 wins. Of course, did not compete last week at Nashville Super Speedway. That has put Craig Yanzak right there, possibly in the place to where he could possibly get a championship here tonight. He's been really good at these mile-and-a-half tracks. He's about, I do believe, 9 points back from Kennealy. Of course, Robert Lawrence sits in that third spot. He is, I do believe, 311 points, so not that far back from Kennealy still. I'd say within striking range, but it's going to be very, very hard, a tough hill for him to climb. Of course, fourth place, Justin Prince. I don't believe he is going to be able to make any headway, but he could move up a spot or two. We'll have to wait and see how that works out. Of course, we talked about that thrilling finish last week at Nashville Super Speedway with, of course, Brian Lorenzo. He is in that 5th spot right now, so definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do if he's going to make a Hail Mary move. I mean, I did not see that coming last week, and it looks like we are going to get the starting grid lined up here.
Yep, and Brian, right here on the pole, obviously the points leader right now is Robbie Kennealy, 30.9. That is basically flat out hauling the mail all the way around this track. Kyle Holden going to be second. Craig Janzik's going to be third. James Harris fourth. John Lucido is going to be in fifth. Robert Lorenzo sixth. You got Brian Lorenzo seventh. George Young 8th, Stephen Gibson 9th, and Brandon Ball is going to round out the top 10. To you, Brian.
All right, of course, 11th place is going to be Tyler Meeks, 12th place Steven Shepard, 13th Zach Henson, 14th Jason Taylor, 15th William Mann Jr., 16th Brad Thacker, 17th a new face, I do believe Nathaniel Nicholson, of course, 18th Eli Childs, even though he is going to be actually race control. So rounding out this 18-car field will be Robert Wynn. Of course, this being a 1.5-mile track, a lot of times we've had recently have been a lot of short track racing, which has led to us taking 2 circuits around the track. We will only take 1 here tonight. Of course, we mentioned that one fast repair. These guys are going to be going really crazy and wild. I mean, in practice, I saw some guys flipping on the roofs and sliding. Of course, I think we might end up throwing up the 10 out of 10 card if they do enough flips.
Yeah, and that is a very good possibility. As they was flipping a lot in practice right here, Brian. But you know, it's like I said earlier. You know, with this, you know, basically like a roulette wheel. You got 18 cars out here. Basically, pick which one you think's going to probably win. I mean, even you know Nathan Nicholson all the way back there in 40th place. I mean, he's still got a shot, or excuse me, not 40th place, 18th place. I'm sorry. He's all the way back there in the back. He's got a shot to win this sucker. You know, Jason Taylor back there in the back. And let's not count out the point leader right now, Robbie Kennealy, right there on the pole. He's been the
Yeah.
point leader for the whole season as it is. There's a reason why he's the point leader, and there's a reason why he's on the pole. So, I mean, as fast as he is, and as fast as it was right there in qualifying, I wouldn't be surprised to, you know, to see him up front. But all these other guys in the back, they're going to be charging, trying to get to the front to try to get a hold of Robbie right here.
Yeah, they definitely will be. Of course, being fast in qualifying, I don't think really applies very much to the race, considering draft is going to be a huge deal right here. So it's all going to be, he's going to be swarmed, I think, in a lot of ways. He's going to be the sitting duck, considering he is the points leader. A lot of guys are going to want to try to dethrone him, as we see, I do believe, Benny, the pace car driver, getting ready to head down pit road as we get ready for the first green flag here of tonight. Race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the green flag is out for the first time. Robbie Kennealy wasting no time up through the gears. You already see the 3 of Craig Ganzak give a little bit of bump to the back of the one machine. Kyle Holden up on top. He's going to, almost a little bit of bump in there for second place.
Yeah, and they're already just bumping and banging. Everybody trying to get to the front already, Brian. I mean, everybody just trying to catch up to Robbie Kennealy. And they are coming down through here. Looks like he's fixing to get a shot to the outside, but Robbie Kennealy, I'm telling you, this bottom line right here, Brian, these guys are going to be trying to fight for this bottom line. You can make a little bit of headway in that middle lane, but I'm telling you, the bottom is where you want to be. At least that's where I would want to be if I was driving this car or in this truck. Craig Janzik, he's trying to get that middle lane to work, but I'm telling you, Robbie is just pulling. He's just starting to pull away from him right here on the bottom.
Yeah, I think a lot of what could explain that, too, is Craig Ganzak, when he goes up the track in the corners, you see he loses a lot of time. Of course, Kennealy is using the shortest distance around the racetrack. And as soon as Ganzak actually pulls out, he's hitting that wall of air in a lot of ways. We talked about clean versus dirty air really impacting this race quite a bit. Well, that is exactly what happens. And you see, if we do get restarts later here tonight, Kyle Holden started up in second place. He is now falling all the way back, I do believe, to fifth. So that's top line is not where you're going to want to start at.
No, and we got to caution big wreck back in turn number 2. I'm trying to figure out who that is, Brian, but
Tyler Meeks.
Looks like Tyler Meeks. That's unfortunate for him. He was sitting there running in the 12th spot right there before that caution came out, and I mean, very, very unfortunate to see that right there. As we're going to check this out on the replay when it comes up right here, Brian, but very, very unfortunate to see that. As you're going to see him going into turn 1 right here.
I think he tried to clear himself on William Mann Jr. there.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looked like. I mean, and, you know, this place is hard, you know, to kind of see what you're doing. I mean, you're kind of worried about what's going on in front of you, you know, whether or not there's going to be a wreck in front of you or, you know, what's going on behind you. You're trying to watch every little thing. And sometimes the spotters will sit there, you know, it's happened to me, Brian. You know, there's been plenty of times the spotter will sit there and tell you, hey, you're clear. And guess what? You're not.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be trying to clear myself on a man from Kannapolis, North Carolina. That's where the late, great Dale Earnhardt's from. William Mann Jr. is who I'm, of course, talking about. That's pretty interesting. I didn't realize it was from Kannapolis. So you see a little bit of rear damage on that Hendricks 7 machine. So definitely going to be probably bringing it down pit road. It looks like we got some guys deciding to stay out, some guys coming in. Maybe a little bit of damage repairs here.
Well, you know, if they're going to come down, and especially with Tyler Meeks, if he's going to come down and he's going to get that damage fixed, I mean, it doesn't look that bad on the back of the truck. What he needs to do is make sure to click off that fast repair because you only get one of them, and it's way early in this race. 70 laps to go in
Oh,
this race.
and he just
Way,
used
way
it.
too early. Oh, he just used the fast repair, so it must have been a little bit harder than what we thought. When
Yeah, I would have
when
tried
he
to
turned
get
his
as
stuff.
much. I would have tried to get as much as I could fix optional, like you were kind of saying. It's way too early to be using that. But while we're waiting for these guys to complete these pit stops, I do want to give a shout out to Champion Power Equipment Truck Series, of course, title sponsor, Champion Power Equipment. Looking for reliable and high performance power equipment to help tackle any job? Look no further than Champion Power Equipment. Whether you need portable generator, pressure washer, or any other power tool, Champion has you covered with top of the line products at affordable prices. And as a proud sponsor of the Champion Power Equipment Truck Series, we're excited to bring you even more power and performance on and off the track. Visit championpowerequipment.com today. I also do want to shout out the fact that we are going to be, of course, completing this season, but there's going to still be racing next week, ladies and gentlemen, on Tuesday with the Champion Power Equipment Truck Series. We're going to be at Dover Motor Speedway, not Dover, I'm sorry, Charlotte Motor Speedway at the Roval. So we're going to be go road course racing for 3 weeks. And of course, Jacob, I do believe, is going to be joining us right there. I know you don't actually like road courses from what you told me, right?
No, no, I'm not a real big fan of road courses, but I'll say this: if there was any road course that I would pick that I would want to drive at, it would be the Roval. I mean, that place is just so tricky to try to get around. I mean, it's tricky enough to get around the oval, and then you throw in what about another 12 turns, I guess you could say. I'm sure there's more than 12 turns at that place, but you throw in more turns, and of course you got them turtles that everybody hates at that Charlotte
Oh, yeah.
Roval. So everybody, it's gonna be a good race next week, I'm sure, and I'll be happy to be I'll be happy to be on board for it, Brian.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it myself. That place, like you mentioned about the turtles, definitely will destroy a race car very easily and send you Dukes of Hazzard style up into the air. Of course, looks like green flag soon to be coming back out here. Pace car lights are out. Robbie Kennealy going to try it once again. Now we saw on the top side, the guy that started on the top side, Kyle Holden, he fell back to fifth. Now Craig Ganzak is in that top side right now. What happens to him? I think it's all going to depend on James Harris, what he does.
Yeah, it's gonna really depend on him as we're getting ready to come to green right here. But what I think Craig Janzik, he saw what happened to Kyle Holden in that first restart right there. So I think he's actually going to try to get down. I mean, he's wanting to try to find that clean air, but as we're getting ready to go green right here, Brian, we'll see what happens.
100% green flag is back out for the second time. Robbie Kennealy wasting no time. Craig Ganzak faring a little bit better than Kyle Holden did. He drops right behind the Reaper Speed Labs one. And it looks like a battle for third place, but it looks like John Lucido is going to make his move and secure that position. And we can still see side by side for the fifth place position. Kyle Holden and Robert Lawrence are battling for that spot.
Yeah, and they are absolutely battling it out right now. As you see, whoa, big move going down to the bottom right there. Huge move right there by Harris trying to get down and try to get below Lucido. That's going to open up the bottom almost. As you see right here, Janzik just almost went all the way into the grass to try to get down and try to get up under him. He's going to get up under Robbie Kennealy. Looks like Craig Janzik, he is going to the front here at Vegas.
Yeah, he has just taken the lead from Robbie Kennealy, utilizing that apron there at the bottom of the racetrack. That's one thing about Vegas that is very dangerous. You go down there, a lot of drivers don't have to let you go come back up. But it looks like Robbie Kennealy thought better of it as we see a big wiggle there from John Lucido off of turn number 4 there all the way down the apron. Now, one thing about it, when you go down there, it's a little bit of a different banking, and that sometimes can burn the tires up a little bit more prematurely as we see, of course, Lucido now moves up to second. Kennealy kind of stuck up on the top right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure Robbie's kicking himself right now. He's wanting to try to get down on the bottom, or maybe he's playing some kind of little strategy deal. Maybe he's trying to let these guys just go on because, these guys might be his big wiggle right there from Lucido. Almost gets turned right there by Holden. But going back to Robbie Kennealy right there, I think what he's just wanting to do, he's just wanting to try to slide back and try to save a little bit of tires. You see 4 wide going into turn 1. And it looks like Harris is going to keep it on the bottom. Holden's going to get away and try to get third. And Robbie Kennealy is still stuck up on the top side.
I mean, I tell you, I didn't know we were here for the Blue Angels. This is amazing seeing this style of racing here at Las Vegas. Still 3 wide with John Lucido right in the middle. You do see, of course, Robbie Kennealy trying to make something happen on the top. It looks like we have double filed out once again, but Craig Ganzak in front of this crazy cluster of a group of race cars. I mean, any moment, I think an accident could happen. It's almost like Talladega out here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, and it's Talladega on a 1 mile, or excuse me, a mile and a half track. I mean, these guys are all over each other, just absolutely racing the crap out of one another. You see, Janzik tries to go to the bottom. Holden looked like he tried to make a move on him a little bit. He's going to fall back in line. And then you got Lorenzo just sitting right there in third, just trying to get past Harris. I'm telling you, Brian, there is so much battling all over the place. It's just hard to pick which battle you want to talk about at this.
It really is. I mean, this has been absolutely nuts, and that's how Champion kind of always is. These guys always put on such a fantastic show. But I am starting to see some tire fall off here. Of course, we saw most of these drivers hitting 30.8s, 30.9s in the beginning. It looks like most of them are now in the 31-second range. So I think that's going to continue. And tires, we talked about this is going to be like a super speedway for 10 or so laps. But I think eventually these guys are going to maybe have to start lifting, maybe start to conserve. And the guys that are pushing it too hard, they're going to pay the price.
Yeah, and they are absolutely going to pay the price, and they're going to burn that right front tire off so bad. They're going to be plowing up to the wall, and these guys that are saving the tires is going to be able to just pass them right back on the bottom. But I don't think, Brian, honestly, I don't think these guys are really worried about the tires at this point. I mean, these guys are still going at it. Janzik's still leading, Holden second, Lorenzo third. And I'm telling you, oh, here we go. Holden going for the lead on Janzik. Looked like he cut the corner right there a little bit. Door to door, almost touching one another down the backstretch.
Whoa, and look at this big move, I think, from Brian Lorenzo, known for these big moves. He goes to the bottom, 3 wide for the lead as Craig Anzac's up top. Kyle Holden in the middle. This is quite the show right now. Of course, Lorenzo, he has been having, looks like he's got something to prove. He, of course, I do believe is in 5th place in the points right now. But that all could change very, very quickly if some type of accident breaks out. You mentioned these guys only have one fashion period. I don't think you want to use it this early, but I think a lot of guys are getting ready to.
Yeah, and I hope they don't, really, Brian. I mean, this is awesome to sit here and watch, but look who's up there in third. Robbie Kennealy. We talked about him just a second ago. He got stuck up on the high side, was 4 wide at one point going into turn 1. Now he's up here going for third. Actually, excuse me, in third, going for second right now, trying to get around Lorenzo. He might have a shot to try to get up against Holden, but he gets up on that high side. I mean, that high side's got a little bit of grip, but a lot of people just want to just keep it right there on the bottom and just take the short way around. As we got a wreck in the back, huge wreck in the back. Looks like John Lucido's stuck in the back. Looks like he got stuck in the fence, Brian.
Yeah, big hit on the right side there for him. Of course, I was surprised to see Robbie Kennealy able to make that top side work. So definitely seems like as the tires wear, that seems to be more of an option as we take a look back at the replay and see exactly what happened here. It looks like a little bit of contact possibly with Brandon Ball. Tyler Meeks comes in and finishes him off.
Yeah, and then just, huge hit right there on the right side. And this early in the race, Brian, we just sat here and talked about these fast repairs that these guys are trying to desperately hold on to. It's only one that they've got. They don't want to sit there and have to burn it, but as you see right here, he gets hit right there by Tyler Meeks, and looks like he tried to save it, and looks like he just overcorrected it and just shot it straight up into the fence.
Yeah, unfortunate there for John Lucido. Luckily, won't go a lap down. He'll still be able to limp that truck. Oh, a little bit of beef on the racetrack. You can see Lucido. Oh, contact after the fact. Lucido and Tyler Meeks not happy with each other. Some beef on the racetrack right now.
Wow, and to be honest with you, I know there's a lot of people that might be watching this, and they might be hearing Moonhead right now because we have got beef here at Vegas. And unbelievable right here, as you see it right here, just, oh man, that is just, wow, it's good for the fans, but I mean, I don't know what to call on that one, Brian. I mean, that's something that you usually see in public lobbies or even in official races. It's kind of hard to see that sometimes in a league race.
You could tell Lucido was definitely voicing his displeasure, but then the 7, I don't know if it was in reaction to that, come down right there on the nose of the 73. But while we have these pit stops kind of going down, let's take a look, take a moment to shout out another one of our Champion Power Equipment sponsor. Of course, I want to talk a little bit about Green Mountain Grills. We all love barbecue. I know I sure do, especially coming from South Carolina. Green Mountain Pellet Grills are top of the line quality grills for all of your grilling needs. GMG also offers highest quality dry rubs, sauces, and pellets, but not for the highest price. Customers enjoy the best possible grilling experience without breaking the bank. Visit either one of their 1,000 locations across the U.S. or visit them at greenmountaingrills.com for online purchases, recipes, and much more. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind some barbecue right now, especially after that beef we saw on the track.
Yeah, I would not mind having some barbecue myself right now. I mean, that's just, I mean, it's like I said, Brian, I really don't know what to really call that right there. I mean, that's just straight up beef. I mean, that's just straight up two guys that you're just, honestly, they're just ticked off at one another for what happened. But, if I remember, if I'm sitting there watching the replay, I mean, it didn't really look like Tyler just went in there and just straight up killed him. I mean, it honestly looked like, Lucido kind of got a little bit, sideways or whatever. And Meeks ain't got nowhere to go. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
stay in the throttle as much as you possibly can here at Vegas in these trucks. And I mean, he had nowhere to go, and then there he was. So I think when Lucido goes back and watches this right here, he's going to see that, I mean, there was nothing for Tyler Meeks to be able to do right there.
Now, I do want to mention we did have some interesting calls on pit road. I do believe William Mann Jr. Only took fuel 6.5 in the box is how long he spent. I do believe George Young actually spent about 9.7 seconds. So I think that is a two-tire call for him. So this could be quite interesting. So I'm wondering what effects that's going to have on the handling.
Yeah, I mean, with two tires, I mean, it's gonna be crazy as far as some of these guys that took four tires. I mean, you know, four tires, you're going to have more grip. Two tires, it can help you out a little bit, possibly on the short run, but in the end, if this sucker goes green, I'm telling you, those four tires are just going to eat them two tires up.
Yeah, I definitely agree totally. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, we saw, 2/10 or so of fall off on that, I do believe, 20 lap. The green flag is back out, but yeah, I definitely think tire wear is going to be significant. As it looks like William Mann Jr. though gets a pretty good launch there. We'll see how he does in turn one on the older tires here. Do see three wide, a little bit further back. These guys are packed in like sardines. As it looks like Kyle Holden to the lead, with Robbie Kennealy going to be surging right through to second place. You could definitely see William Mann Jr. struggling on those old tires. I don't know if that was a good call, but then again, if we have another caution later in this race, he could look like a genius.
Yeah, he definitely could look like a genius. I mean, and Holden's just going to sit there and just kind of roll with it. And like I said, earlier, we talked about Robbie Kennealy. Coming in here as the points leader, very slim gap as far as for the points. So I mean, these points, mean everything. I mean, there is no stages in this stuff, so they're just going as hard as they possibly can, trying to get everything that they can. I mean, there's no reason to sit there and just ride. I mean, you got to get up there and you got to be able to make sure you get past everybody. Holden's still sitting there with the lead. Robbie Kennealy second. Lorenzo sitting there third. Gibson and Mann look like they're battling the heck out of one another for fourth. So a lot of great battles. Three wide right here in the trioval as they go back to two. So a lot of great stuff going on. But Brian, it's way early in this race. Anything can happen.
100%. Of course, we saw George Young. We talked about him taking two tires. He is now falling back to ninth place, but still side by side, though. Steven Shepard, of course, trying to, I do believe, see if he can't complete the pass on William Mann Jr. Looks like he's going to be able to do that, as we also see, I do believe, Robert Lawrence coming into the picture. One driver that we always see early in the race is usually towards the back. He's going to get up towards the front late. That is just his MO. He always is in the rear of the field, and all of a sudden shows up at the front late. Look at that, George Young. He's having a lot of problems. Went way up the track there. I think that car's loose.
Yeah, I think he is all over the place, just trying to hang on to it. And we talked about this earlier, Brian. And this is something I wanted to bring up to everyone at home. Is granted, these guys are on fixed setups. Granted, everybody's running the same piece, but here's the thing, with that fixed setup, these fixed setups, they can drive different for, say, Robbie Kennealy, and then it could drive completely different for Kyle Holden, and then it could completely drive different for Craig Janzik. I mean, these fixed setups, it's a straight setup. It's the same thing that everybody's got, but for the sense of it, everybody's got to drive the same thing, but everybody's driving style is different. As you see right here, Lorenzo sitting here, he's going to use the draft to try to get around Robbie Kennealy. Almost slid up into him a little bit. But looks like Robbie Kennealy's going to be able to hold on to second. He better watch out. Here comes Gibson going for third.
Yeah, and then even more battling even further back, we see Craig Yanzak battling with Steven Shepard. I think Yanzak's starting to get a little bit maybe aggravated with that 13 machine. As you see, 13 keeps throwing blocks on that 3, and of course following right behind. Yanzak is the 55 of James Harris, as we still see that battle for third underway at the moment. And of course, here goes the fight for the lead. Robbie Kennealy to the inside, or to the outside, I should say, side by side.
Yeah, outside lane, he's going to try to run with it. And earlier on in this race, he tried to stick with that top lane. He's found something up there in that top lane that nobody else has been able to use for some reason. But I'm telling you, it's 3 wide. Here we go. Lorenzo trying to make it 3 wide. They're going to make it 3 wide going into turn 3. Holden stuck in the middle. It looks like Robbie Kennealy going to be stuck up on the top side. Looks like you knew later. Going to be Lorenzo as they come to the stripe. Barely led that lap, but Holden's just trying to hold him off.
He definitely is, for sure. Of course, Lorenzo, last week's winner with a last lap pass, only led 1 lap of the race, and it was the most important one, the last one. Of course, he's trying to lead some during the middle of the race right now, as we still see battling. Holden McGill up on the top. He's got Robbie Kennealy right there behind him, trying to give him some pushes. Of course, we talked about how important draft is, so I think that it still somewhat applies. If Kennealy stays behind Holden, I think that top side will start to have a little bit more of an advantage. But you see also Stephen Gibson is going to come up here and maybe help out Ryan Lorenzo. Now, of course, Gibson and Holden are on the same team, so I'm wondering how that's going to play out here.
Yeah, and that's actually very, 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 very crazy that you mentioned that right there, as both of them is on different teams. You see Robbie Kennealy going to slide it in there. He's going to go 3 wide, shoves it in there. One guy's stuck in the fence all the way into the back, but Robbie Kennealy, huge power move to the bottom. Lorenzo is not too happy about that. He's going to try to get him back on the inside, but everybody's swarming trying to get a hold of Robbie Kennealy right here.
Yeah, they are. And Robbie Kennealy, of course, known for his short track prowess, a real life short track driver as well, and has had a lot of success, has won some real life races, and of course has duplicated that here in the sim. But this is not short track racing, but it seems like he still has a pretty good handle on that race car right now. Of course, he has a very high I rating, and seems like no matter what car you put him in, what kind of track you put him in, Kennealy's going to find his way up to the front. He's doing that right now as he goes all the way down to the apron. Of course, Lorenzo gets a pretty good run there, not taking the apron. That's kind of a question that I've always had about tracks like this. When you have that apron available, sometimes I don't think it's worth it to go down there.
No, it's not. I mean, you know, there's certain drivers, they'll be able to take the corner a little bit differently, and some of them won't take that apron because it'll screw their entry up when they're trying to go into turn 1. I mean, this is the same thing as say, Kansas. Some of the guys, or some people might be running official races this week in Kansas. Some guys don't want to go down to the apron because it messes up their turn 1 going in. So, you know, it really depends on the driver, Brian. To be honest with you, it depends on if you want to go down there and be able to cut that apron and be able to pull off that pass. So, you know, I don't think he wants to try the apron just yet. I think he's running his race, wanting to stay above that apron going through the tri-oval and just try to figure out a different way to get around Robbie Kennealy. Or maybe he's just riding back there and seeing if Robbie Kennealy's going to go up there and burn his tires up.
I'll tell you who keeps peeking to the inside here in that 7th place position, Robert Lawrence. I'm telling you, watch that 5. He always shows up towards the end of this race. I mean, he is the closer in a lot of ways. We see James Harris and Craig Yanzak battling it out, almost coming to blows here for that 5th place position.
Yeah, he almost got right into his right side. Well, more or less got into his door almost, and that was very, very tight, as we're going to see it right here on the replay. Very, very tight racing right here as we're going through the tri-oval. But you know, that's something else that I was going to bring up, Brian, is we're talking about all this draft and everything that these guys is going to have to use in this race to be able to maneuver through the field. But side draft is another big key on this, but here and at a lot of other tracks, especially when there's a lot of draft that's going to be playing. And maybe he was trying to get a little bit of side draft on Craig Janzik to try to pull him back the best that he could. And for those of you that don't know, side draft is basically you're trying to get up. You're not trying to get the speed advantage. You're trying to get an aero advantage to try to pull that car that's on the inside to try to pull him back. as best as you possibly can. Your speed's not going to change, but his speed will change. As you see a huge move right here going to the bottom. Looks like that's Harris trying to go around Craig Janzik right here. So big battle for 5th right here.
Yeah, big battle right now. And you see, look how big the fall off is right now. We're seeing almost a second now. 8/10, of course, last time by from our leader, Robbie Kennealy, a 31.612 versus his fastest lap, a 30.808. That is quite a significant amount of fall off. So these guys are starting to really, I'd say, pay that price when it comes to driving so hard. So anybody that's been saving tire, I think they're going to start to do better and better. And that even could be possibly Robbie Kennealy as he's starting to pull away a little bit here on Lorenzo.
Yeah, and if he's saving, I mean, if he's been saving the tires, he's doing a heck of a job at doing it. But you got to think about some of these other guys that took those 2 tires and tried to get that extra track position. I mean, they're just paying for it right now with those guys that took the 2 tires. So, I mean, I hate it for those guys, but they was probably waiting on a quick caution. But I mean, the only racing you really got is back there around 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in that range. That's the only real good racing that you're having that might produce that caution. Everybody else is just basically single file and everybody's just running away. So, you know, if you've been saving your tires, right here's where you're really going to get your money's worth right here.
Yeah, you definitely are right. I think everybody has kind of the single filed out, and I think as the tires have worn out, it is kind of making that be the kind of thing that's going to happen. But of course, we did have beef earlier between John Lucido and I do believe Tyler Meeks. They are right there, right side by side next to each other. If we're going to have a caution, I think that might be possibly where it comes from. But of course, we still could end up having that caution. That would make George Young, William Mann Jr., that could make them look like geniuses. Of course, they are, I'd say, about a third of a lap from, I'd say more like 2/3 of a lap, possibly from going a lap down. But I don't think they're going to have to worry about that right now. But I think eventually it will be something that's going to be a concern.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a concern. And not only that, you know, you talking about them going a lap down, these leaders is going to have to figure out a way to try to get around them. And that's going to possibly try to mess them up. I mean, I don't know if it'll mess up Robbie Kennealy as he's opened up to a half a second lead right here, or it possibly could, because these lap cars, you got to watch the lap traffic. They might be running in the line that he's running in, and you might get that little bit of luck. You might ask them, hey, look, you know, can you jump up to the top? And they may jump up to the top if you run the bottom, or vice versa. So, you know, lap traffic can come into play, and it can slow Robbie down and let Ronzo be able to catch back up.
We have had some battling up here. I do believe in the 5th place position. Robert Lawrence just moved up to 5th. James Harris just got by Craig Yanzak. Of course, Yanzak's got to be in desperation mode. He's the one that is closest to a championship title here compared to Robbie Kennealy. So he's got to be feeling those alarm bells kind of going off right now for him as he's been losing spots. He's back to 7th, now under fire from Jason Taylor. I think that Yanzak's starting to feel those tires starting to wear on him.
Yeah, and you hate to see that, but I mean that's just typical racing here at Vegas. I mean, you know, we talked about it earlier, you know, with this track going to be just like plate racing, but this track is very old and it's very wore out. So, I mean, just with all the speeds that basically with all the speeds that you got and everything, eventually sooner or later the tires are going to wear off. And I know Craig James Ganzik is just holding on the best that he possibly can right now, just trying to get the best that he can get.
Yeah, I definitely think so. As we see Brad Thacker actually move up to 8th, I think a lot of these guys might even be considering green flag pit stops. Just considering, I mentioned it before, 40 to 45 is the fuel window. I don't think these guys are going to be able to make it to the end here. So I think the call could be to maybe try to split this run in half. What do you think?
I would think that would probably be the way to go with it, is probably just to split it in half. That would be what I would think for some of the guys up front. Now, some of the guys in the back, they might try to go a little bit longer, because the longer that you go, the better tires you're going to have later on in the run. And then at that point, you're going to be able to, as you see we got one slow on the bottom right here. That's Zach Henson on the bottom right here. I don't know exactly what happened to him, but yeah, but going back to what you was talking about, Brian, yeah, I'd say probably split it in half and be able to try to pull it off with that, or some of these guys might try to run longer and have that extra tire to be able to try to get something going. But I mean, I don't know. It's a coin flip. It's Vegas. Roll the dice, see what you can get.
Yeah, I mean, I like your idea though to kind of maybe go like 5 laps extra if you possibly can, just to have those 5 lap newer tires. That doesn't sound like a lot. I know a lot of people are like 5 laps. What's that going to do? But 5 laps, a little bit newer tire could really be the game changer out here, especially with the way the draft is. You're going to be able to catch these guys and have the maneuverability that they want.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're going to be able to have, and you know, that's. I mean, you basically took the words right out of my mouth, Brian. I mean, you're going to be able to have more maneuverability than the other guys are going to have, and what that's going to do, that's going to make you catch them better. That's going to be able to, if you want to put it on the top, but they're not able to go to the top, you can put it up the top, and then you're going to have that extra tire and extra grip, and you're going to be able to just slide right by them and do whatever you want. As you see, we got some guys right here taking that strategy, going on in, getting some tires. Tyler Meeks, he's coming in. He's going to try to get him 4 fresh tires. He's going to try to see if he can catch these guys. But this is something else, Brian. He's going to be on fresher tires. These guys are going to be on older tires. He's going to be a lot faster than some of these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really ever consider the short pit, as I do believe we actually just saw Robbie Kennealy bring it down as well.
Yeah, and here comes Robbie Kennealy just coming down from the lead, surrenders it to Lorenzo. So Robbie Kennealy going to come down and get him some fresh tires right here. See if he can try to play some kind of strategy. I mean, he's the points leader for a reason, so there's a reason why he's coming in right now. He's got a strategy up his sleeve, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it looks like he's going to be splitting it right in half. So I'm wondering how this is going to play out for him. If a caution comes out, that will definitely be a bad day. It looks like the 59, also Kyle Holden, is bringing it down pit road. So green flag pit stops have well and truly started here.
Yep,
Keep in
they
mind, these
have.
guys are limited on tires right now. I do believe coming into this race, they had 2 in the pits. And a lot of these guys are going to be out of tires after this stop.
Yeah, and that could lead to some crazy stuff if we have a late race caution right here, Brian, because if they don't have any extra tires to be able to go and then there's a restart, you're talking about people spinning tires. You're talking about a crazy restart where everybody's just trying to hold on to their truck the best that they possibly can, and they're going to be all over the place, and that's a late race restart. So I mean, I wouldn't count that out, but it's very possible. But from the way it looks right now, I think we're going to be all right. But don't count it out. I mean, like I said earlier, this is Vegas. Anything is possible.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And of course, you got to keep in mind those guys that might have stayed out on the older tires, they will have a set left after this green flag stop. If they manage to get back on the lead lap and a caution comes out, they could be in prime position. They'll be probably over a half a second, maybe even a second faster than the rest of the drivers, and that could be huge. But of course, while we have these green flag stops going on, I do want to shout out another one of our Champion Power Equipment sponsors. Of course, that being Blackstone Management Partners. Blackstone Management Partners guarantees an unrivaled one-on-one approach to every client, providing them with solutions and services required to keep their dynamic brands thriving and one step ahead of the ever-changing consumer marketplace. Blackstone comprises expertise in marketing, communication, and talent management. Of course, if you'd like some help with some of their, of course, mobile marketing, investigative marketing, and cause-driven marketing, visit them today at bsmpartners.com. As, of course, we see Brian Lorenzo has brought it down pit road as well. That's all I'm hearing over the radios right now is pitting in, pitting in.
Yeah, and you're going to hear a lot of that, especially right here. I mean, usually when one goes, everybody goes right behind them. I mean, that's usually how it goes. But you may have that one or two that's going to stay out there. Gibson's still staying out right now. So you see John Lacido right here. He's coming down pit road. Gibson now goes in. He's going to surrender it to Mann. And correct me if I'm wrong right here, Brian. Now, was Mann one of them that took 2 tires when he went in the pit, or am I mistaken?
He
Was that
actually
someone
stayed out,
else?
or no, he actually spent only 6.5 down pit road, which means he only took fuel.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's going to be a game changer right there. So, I mean, give it to Mann sitting there leading right now, winning second. And Robbie Kennealy back there 24 seconds back. And Kyle Holden sitting there in third and Gibson in fourth. So, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of a gutsy call right now with Mann staying out as well as he is right now. So, I'm curious to see what the strategy is. As you see Robert Wynn right here on the screen, but I'm very curious to see what man's strategy is right here.
Of course, we saw Brian Lorenzo not long ago was in the lead. He's got Robert Lawrence all over his rear end, of course, fighting for that 6th place position. Like I said, if a caution comes out, man's going to look really good. And that I mean, he'll have a set left. All these other guys are kind of locked in a box right now. He won't be. He'll be like, hey, I can go get some fresh tires and make, all these other guys can be spinning their tires on the restart. He's going to be good and golden and probably be able to leave them. But, of course, that is if a caution comes out here. As we see, of course, I do believe Brian Lorenzo just got by Steven Gibson. It looks like he's going to see if he can't take that 5th spot away. Robert Lawrence going to see if he can't follow right behind him here as we have, I do believe, 22 laps to go now.
Yep, and 22 laps to go as man goes in the pits. He finally give it up, and he finally went into the pits. So, I was thinking like you were right there, Brian. I mean, I was thinking, he might just stay out and try to see what he could do and see if there was a caution right here within the last 20 laps. But, I mean, that's tricky, to try that. I mean, everybody's just going to be catching you and everything. And then if you do pit, you're pretty much going to just, I mean, you're going to have fresher tires than everybody else in front of you, but still, I mean, it's going to be a long way to climb. But, he done what he had to do. So, and Wynn's still leading right now. He hasn't pitted yet. So once he pits and once he surrenders it, it'll be Robbie Kennealy up front.
Yeah, and because I think William Mann Jr. waited so long to pit, of course, he is going to fall all the way back to last place. Now the last car a lap down here. Of course, I'd keep an eye on Kyle Holden right now. Looking at his lap time, 31.1 last time by versus Robbie Kennealy's 31.3. They're really close to one another. Virgin gone possibly half a second here. Kyle Holden's starting to get a sniff of that draft, and he's got fresher tires.
Yeah, and he is coming too. As you can see right there, 173 miles an hour in the corner. Good Lord, that is moving in these trucks, especially on a fixed setup. I'm telling you right now, Kyle Holden is giving it all he's got, trying to get up there to Robbie Kennealy and try to see if he can get him. And you called it, Brian. I mean, a half a second behind him right now. He is getting a good sniff of that draft, but what's he going to do when he gets there? I mean, Robbie Kennealy's pretty much shown that he wants to try to run that bottom, and so is Kyle Holden right now. So what's Kyle going to do? Is he going to try to jump up top? Is he going to try to, make some kind of crazy move? Or is he going to wait till they get the trial oval and just dump it down on the apron and try to take it that way?
Well, I mean, he's 2/10 faster than him right now, so I don't think Robbie Kennealy is going to really be able to do much. But, of course, Robbie Kennealy is a consummate professional, so we'll have to wait and see what the thought process is going to be. As I think we're going to get that answer very quickly here as Kyle Holden comes up to the rear, now only about a 10th, separating these two drivers. Does he drop down on the apron? I don't know. It's going to be happening soon. I think maybe Holden. Yeah, here he goes to the apron, side by side, almost for the lead. Is he going to be able to get there? And he is side by side out of, I do believe, or going into turn one. Of course, not for the lead, but what is, I'd say, essentially going to be for the lead, considering Robert Wynn is still out there.
Yeah, and Robert Wynn's sitting there still leading, but this is the battle right here that everybody is watching right now. Kyle Holden stuck on the bottom, Robbie Kennealy up on top, and I'm telling you right now, he's not really giving it to him. I mean, he is trying to hold on to it the best that he possibly can, and Kyle's trying to get up and see if he can get clear. Robbie's just not going to give it to him. Now he looks like he's going to be barely clear, almost. I mean, and no, Robbie's going to work that high side and be able to get back door to door with him. Brian, I'm telling you, Robbie might see this right here. If Kyle gets away right here, this could be the race.
Yeah, it looks like Kyle Holden does get the pass completed, though, but never count out Robbie Kennealy. Could he have been saving tire in this situation? I mean, he is a master at things like that, so if he could just hang in the draft, Kyle Holden, maybe he will still be able to keep his chances alive. We'll have to wait and see how this kind of works out. Of course, the next driver back and forth is Brian Lorenzo. He's about 3.4 seconds back, and he's moving a little bit, about 3/10 faster than both of these drivers right now. Of course, he's got Robert Lawrence right there behind them. They are on a little bit newer tires than Robbie Kennealy and Kyle Holden. I'm wondering how that's going to turn out. Do they have enough time to catch him?
15 laps, anything is possible. I mean, you called it right there. I mean, they are coming 3/10 of a lap quicker. So, I mean, Anybody that's got a better calculator than I do, I mean, they be able to tell. But I'm telling you, as you sitting there looking at it right now, they are reeling them in very, very quickly. So yeah, Brian, this could shape up. We thought, this might just be between Kyle Holden and Robbie Kennealy, but Lorenzo and Lawrence, they are coming right here. They are trying to catch them as best as they possibly can right now. And honestly, I'm with you, Brian. I honestly think that they might actually be able to catch them.
Time is definitely running out, though, as we come to 13 laps to go. Robbie Kennealy is still all over the back of Kyle Holden. I think he might have not been showing his cards, in my opinion, because last time by, he was almost a tenth faster than Kyle Holden. So you watch out. That one, I think, was playing possum as they come up to some lap cards, which could play a role here in this race.
Yeah, and here they are right here. Yeah, here they are. Robert Wynn, he's the one that stayed out. Still, he's probably waiting on a caution, but it ain't coming yet. I mean, I'm telling you, Kyle Holden goes right by him. Robert Kennealy stuck right up his tailgate. I mean, if we had a nose cam right here, we'd be able to see the fuel cell up Kyle Holden's back bumper right now. I'm telling you, they were tight coming off of turn 2. But I'm telling you,
Robbie, proctologist right now looking at the rear.
You ain't kidding. I'm telling you. I mean, it is very tight. It was really tight, but right now, Robbie Kennealy and Holden, that's the two guys right here. But like you said earlier, Ronzo and Lawrence, don't count them out. They are still catching these guys very slowly but surely. Yeah, they are. Now that I'm looking at it, under 3 seconds, they are coming, Brian.
Yeah, 2.8 seconds now separating them as actually Brian Lorenzo is going to get by Robert Wynn here, move up into the third place position. Of course, looks like Robert Lawrence also going to be able to move up as well, but Brian Lorenzo is kind of separated from Robert Lawrence. I think that might be a negative in a way to Brian Lorenzo. He's not going to be quite as fast. Of course, strength in numbers here at Vegas. I think those guys should have worked together, but of course that was not the case. Also, Craig Ganzak's not that far back as well in that 5th place position.
Yeah, and as we're talking about that right here, we almost had a battle for the lead right here. Kyle was up on the top. Robbie was on the bottom. Robbie was trying to take a look at it. I'm telling you, Robbie ain't wanting to sit here and play around with Kyle. He's wanting to try to get back by him. Either that, or he's just messing with him, just trying to see if he can get Kyle to overdrive the corner just a little bit. But I'm telling you, but I'm telling you, these guys better just watch what they're doing, because if they get up here and they start racing too hard, it's like we talked about earlier, Brian, they're going to burn those tires up even worse. And Ronzo's just back there just waiting, just licking his chops, trying to get up here. It's 10 to go right here.
Yeah, he's 10, a tenth or 2 tenths actually faster than both of these guys. I think he might catch him. I mean, he's going to start to get a sniff of that draft. I think when we come to about 5 or maybe 3 laps to go, we'll have to wait and see how this kind of turns out. I mean, him being this much faster, I think he is going to get into this fight as well. And this is going to be interesting. And Brian Lorenzo, of course, won last week with a last lap pass, actually last couple turns pass. What if he wins 2 in a row here? I mean, that would be quite the setup for next season.
Yeah, it would, but just to bring this up here, Brian, catching them is one thing, passing them is another. And, but you said it earlier. I mean, you just said it just a second ago. I mean, he made a last lap pass, last couple of corners pass. So it's very possible that Lorenzo is able to pull something like this out of his truck. So we're going to see what happens. He's still catching them. But, I mean, 8 to go, coming to 7 to go right here. It's going to get tight coming down the line right here, Brian.
And wouldn't it be something if Robbie Kennealy isn't really trying to fight for the lead? Because if he finishes right where he still is going to be the champion and $100 richer. So I don't think he's too mad about following behind Kyle Holden at the moment.
Yeah, but Brian, to be honest with you, every racer, if the leader's right in front of them, they're going to do everything they can to try to win. Try not to wreck them, obviously. Try not to move them. Try to make it as clean as possible. So, Robbie's a racer, and, you said it earlier about, his career statistics in real life. So he's a racer at heart, and he's going to try to at least win this thing. He's not going to just give it to Kyle. He's not going to just ride. He's going to at least try to get up there and try to pull something off.
Yeah, you see Kyle Holden trying to maybe break the draft, goes down a little bit on the backstretch to see if he can't break the draft there for Robbie Kennealy as they start to separate a little bit more here. Coming to 5 laps to go, ladies and gentlemen. 5 laps to go here in the season. Of course, Robbie Kennealy, at the moment, is scored as the champion. Can he actually win the race? Like you said, I mean, you want to win a championship with that exclamation point. You don't want to be like, oh, yeah, I finished second and somehow clinched the championship. You want to be like, I won the race and I won the championship. As Kyle does it again, he's trying to break that draft.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, he's wanting to put an exclamation point on this season. And, you know, from what I've heard from what you've told me about him, Brian, he has had a hell of a season this season. Just absolutely just giving it all he's got. And that's why he's the points leader. So, you know, yeah, absolutely. He wants to put on an exclamation point right here. And, you know, Lorenzo back there in third, he's doing all he can trying to catch back up. I mean, he is catching them just little by little, but I think he went up there and I think he burned his tires up a little bit too much. I don't think he's going to be able to catch him, you know, with 4 to go. I wanted to see it. Everybody wanted to see it. Everybody wanted to see a 3-truck race for the win, but this right here, barring a caution, which is still possible. I mean, anything is possible right here. But Robbie, I'm telling you, he's not going to try to give it away to Kyle right here.
No, I definitely agree with you. I don't think that's going to be the case. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, yeah, Brian Lorenzo just too far away, but still the battle is on. You still see. I love what Kyle's doing. He's trying to break the draft. He's not going to let Robbie Kennealy, you know, really get an advantage here when it comes to draft on these straightaways. But Lorenzo, as we just kind of mentioned, I think he fell victim to that carrot on a stick. I think he saw those guys like, hey, I'm catching him. I'm gonna get him, and then, you know, unfortunately burned his stuff up to kind of take that advantage away he had on the tires. Since we're now 2 laps to go, coming to the white flag. We talked about a caution could still come out. Well, the time is counting down. That hourglass is starting to run out of sand. If we get to that white flag, the next flag is going to end it.
Yeah, and it is going to completely end it right here. But barring it happens right here coming off 4, I don't see it happening. As we got the flag man right there waving the heck out of that white flag. 1 lap to go right here in the season. And looks like Kyle Holden looks like he is starting to kind of ease away out of that, or Robbie has just lost everything that he's got. But Kyle Holden looks like he's going to get this bad boy off turn 2.
Yeah, if he just kind of makes sure he does not make a mistake here in 3 and 4 as he enters right now for the final time. Kyle Holden going to want to see if he can't seal the deal here with a victory in the Champion Power Equipment Truck Series, and he will cross the line as your winner here tonight. Robbie Kennealy, of course, has just sealed the deal on the championship. And what a great race for Kyle Holden. I mean, just perfectly played strategy, I'd say. I mean, he just knew exactly what he was doing. He pitted at just the right time, took advantage. He knew it. I mean, he really just played the perfect strategy. I mean, he knew exactly what kind of tire wear he needed, when exactly he needed to pit it. I wouldn't be surprised if he had the calculator out and the crew was talking to him about it. When should I pit, guys? And apparently they gave him the right call. It looks like Brian Lorenzo is going to come up here and maybe give him a little bit of a congratulations.
Yeah, and that's very awesome to see that right there. Looks like we might see a double burnout right here, but I mean, Kyle Holden, just an absolute great race right there, battling it out right there with Robbie Kennealy right there at the end, and Kyle's going to burn it down right here for these fans and everybody watching at home.
100%. Fantastic performance here as we let Kyle do his celebrating. And with that, I think now's the perfect time. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll come right back with our interviews for the conclusion here of the Champion Power Equipment Championship. We'll be right back.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Alrighty, welcome back to Grid Vision as we get ready to start our post-race show. Of course, first we're going to go down through the final results here of the Champion Power Equipment race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Kyle Holden, of course, gets a victory here. Definitely awesome job to him for sure. Robbie Kennealy, our champion, finishes in second place. Brian Lorenzo comes home in third. Of course, Robert Lawrence finishes in fourth place. Craig Genzak, our, I do believe, season runner-up, finishes in fifth. Sixth place, Stephen Gibson. Seventh place, James Harris. Eighth place, Jason Taylor. Ninth, Brad Thacker. And rounding out our top 10 is Tyler Meeks. Of course, 11th place is going to be John Lucido. 12th place, Brandon Ball. 13th, William Mann Jr. 14th, George Young. 15th, Zach Henson. 16th, Stephen Shepard. 17th, Robert Wynn. Of course, I don't believe Nathan Nicholson made the grid here tonight. So that's going to round out our 17-car field. And we'll go ahead and right on into our post-race show with our interview. Of course, first up is going to be our third-place finisher, Brian Lorenzo. Man, I thought you was going to catch him there. You were really doing it. I mean, you were about 1.5 seconds, 1.3 seconds there towards the end. What happened there? Did you burn your tires up? Maybe a little bit of a different strategy could have got you there?
Nah, man. They just stopped battling. They stopped battling. They were battling to the degree that I thought they would. Robbie kind of tucked in behind him when he didn't have the chance to get below him. So they were pretty much drafting up there, and yeah, that prevented the more amount of time I could have gained. But yeah, she was fast, man. Fast car today.
Yeah, definitely seemed like it. Of course, they didn't battle quite as much as you needed to. That would have definitely helped you catch up quite a bit. You had a little bit of a benefit on tires. Now, you and Robert Lawrence were kind of working together for a little bit there. If y'all had stayed together, you think that could have helped you out a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. But the dirty earth this track is pretty bad. So eventually he started falling off. I think he hit the wall later on in the run, and I was pretty much draftless, gaining like 1/10 per corner, but it just wasn't enough.
All right, well, definitely great job to you, Brian. Nonetheless, you won last week and you finished third, so definitely got a good run of momentum. Of course, next week, I do believe we're going to be starting the road course little mini series, 3 races. Roval going to be the first one. How do you feel about the Charlotte Roval?
Oh, she's a tricky one, man. I do not like that track at all. But it's a fun track for sure. You're gonna see a lot of guys on the limit, pushing the limit, especially when we go into the bus stop, and especially that first corner. I believe they call it the heartburn turn, and we've seen it in real life, and we've seen it. We definitely see in the sim that turn. If you miss it, it hurts.
That's for sure, 100%. Well, Brian, great job once again. Of course, congratulations on your third place. Who can we give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsors of the car, Velocity Designs, my rebranded design group. They're coming out, making this paint. I put a lot of work into it, and it feels great to have a solid debut in the car. I'd like to thank 4 Cloak Media and Pierce Graphics for being the side sponsors, and I'd like to thank you guys for coming out and putting on a show for us.
All right, no problem. You guys definitely put on a show for us. It made it really easy. I'll tell you that, Brian. But hopefully we'll see you next week at Charlotte.
Thanks, man.
That was Brian Lorenzo. Next up, I do believe we're going to have Mr. Jacob Reeves talk to Kyle Holden, our winner. And we got him here in the booth. Kyle, Jacob, you got it, Jacob?
Hey, yeah, Kyle. I mean, just absolute great race right there, bud. To be able to pull that out right there and be able to come out with a win right there. Me and Brian was sitting up here talking in the booth, and we were talking about that you had that calculator over there trying to calculate the best way to try to get around Robbie. I mean, was you driving one-handed, with a calculator over there, or did you just have that whole strategy picked out of how you wanted to do it from the beginning?
When he pitted first, I figured I might as well go with him, see what happens there. And we ended up going green, and so that kind of lucked out for us. He ended up telling me, he let me know I got a little bit better run on my coming out of the pits, so I gained a little bit of time on him, but I wasn't really sure if I was ever going to gain on him after he was like about 2.5, 3 seconds ahead, especially when he got some draft from some of the lap cars coming up. And eventually we just started catching him, and I was like, maybe we got something. But I figured once I get to him, the dirty air would just get to me, and then we would just kind of fall back again. But luckily for us, we kind of saved a little bit of tire. We were lifting a little bit to save as much as we could, and we were somehow able to make it around him. That was definitely a tough one.
Yeah, and you came out with a win on that, especially going up against the champion of this series. Now, you've won a race. We go to Charlotte Roval next week, so you can actually get on a little bit of a win streak. I mean, I don't know about what your kind of deal is on road courses. I mean, how do you feel about going to Charlotte Roval next week?
Charlotte Roval. It's a nightmare, that's for sure, especially in these NASCAR cars. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not so good at the Charlotte Roval, but the Watkins Glen and Road America are pretty decent at, so we'll see how we do.
You're probably better at road courses than I am, but you got any shout-outs? Anybody you want to thank?
Oh, yeah, of course. Huge thanks to you guys up in the booth there. Grid Vision's awesome what you guys are doing. I love the new brand. It looks great. Huge thanks to Kevin and all them for putting on this series for us. James being the league admin and Eli being the race control. Definitely means a lot to us, the guys who just want to come out here and race and have a good time. And definitely they put on a show for us. And then huge thanks always to Team Watson. They're always the #1 guys to go to. So always hit them up, head over there and get your great setups. And then just huge thanks to everyone else for being sponsoring in the league and just being here racing with us.
Well, you talking about us putting on a show, Kyle Holden, you put on a show tonight. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck to you when we go to the Roval next week.
Appreciate it. You guys have a great night.
You too, bud. And Brian, have you caught up with the champion?
I have, of course. We were just talking to Kyle Holden. Definitely appreciate him joining us. But next up, we've got Mr. Robbie Kennealy, of course. You weren't able to put the exclamation point you probably wanted to on this race, but you still came home with the championship and $100 no matter what. How you feeling, Robbie?
Man, I'm feeling all right. I think I definitely had a shot at it, but I kind of played the easy route. I was going to be real mad at myself if I lost the championship due to some pit road stuff. So, and especially at a track like this and the package that we're racing, you got to be real aggressive because you're on the throttle most of the time. So, pit stops matter, and I just took it real easy. Trying not to make any mistakes, and it hit me in the end there, but, Kyle drove a great race, and, we still came out with a championship, which is what my goal was entering tonight. So, no complaints here.
Yeah, now we saw you kind of, I'd say we're a little bit cautious on the pit road strategy. You kind of split it almost right down the middle. A lot of other guys kind of went early. Some other guys stayed out later. Do you think you maybe regret that decision? Maybe going a little bit later would have been a better idea, to kind of have better tires like Kyle had?
That was probably the winning move for sure. But I think if I just drove it in harder, and I think the strategy was right, I just didn't, like I said, I didn't really, I just took it very cautious. I didn't want to make a big mistake or anything like that. So, like I said, probably would have worked out because of, just dirty air and all that. But we just took it cautious, and we achieved the goal.
100%, and you got that $100. Of course, you could have raced it a little harder and, gotten in a wreck, but now you got that championship. Now, of course, Vegas, not really, I'd say, in your it might be in your repertoire, but I'd say your specialty has always been in short tracks, of course, even in real life. What do you think you have to do to prepare for a track like Las Vegas? It's kind of a little out of your comfort zone.
I mean, to be honest with you, not much because you're flat foot most of the time. But I ran Road to Pro here earlier in the season, and I ran tons of laps and stuff, and that kind of easily got me prepared for this race. Although it's open set and fixed set, it was still kind of the same thing, strategy-wise, line-wise, and all that.
100%. Of course, tire wear did seem to be somewhat of an impact, but still, congratulations on the championship. Of course, next week we're going to be heading road course racing for I do believe, 3-part, somewhat mini season, starting out with the Charlotte Roval. Can we expect to see you in the competition there?
Man, I ain't got a dang clue what's going to happen. I can tell you I love racing road courses. I think it's some of the most fun, but competition-wise, I have no clue how it'll be. But nonetheless, even if I'm running, last or, competing up there for the win, I'll have some fun for sure.
Well, we're definitely glad to hear that for sure. I mean, hopefully you can take this momentum, and of course, even in just, I do believe 4 more weeks after that, we'll be right back racing for the championship again. So we can't wait to see that for sure. Robbie, it's been a pleasure to call you all season, coming home with 6 wins on the season, more than anybody else. I think probably might even be double anybody else when it comes to wins. I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure. Who can we give a shout out to, Robbie, after your championship here tonight?
Yeah, I was like week in, week out. I always like to say, man, I want to thank you broadcasters. I want to thank James, Eli, Kevin, all those guys who put on the league. And I want to thank our partners, Champion, Cincinnati, Allegiant, Reaper, Wiley X, Blaz Whistler, GMG, Dr. Pepper, Curb Records, Reaper Speed Lab, Legacy Sports, and all of our other partners. It was definitely a pleasure running the whole season with everybody.
All right. Well, thank you to you as well, Robbie, for putting on quite a season for us. I mean, you made it very exciting and entertaining. But hopefully we'll see you next week at the Roval, bud.
You will, for sure.
That was Robbie Kennealy, our champion, and what a fantastic race he put on here tonight. Of course, what a fantastic season. He definitely put it all together and even missed last week's race. I mean, think about that, Jacob. He missed last week's race and still was able to come home with a championship. That just shows how dominant of a season he's had.
Yeah, he's had a very, very dominant season, and I mean, congratulations to those guys. I mean, those guys being able to pull off just unbelievable. I mean, especially missing one race and still being able to pull it off. I mean, that is unbelievable. I mean, I guarantee you wouldn't see that in today's NASCAR. I guarantee you that. So that is very, very awesome to see. And like I said, congratulations to those guys. I mean, it's well deserved for Robbie Kennealy to be able to pull off a championship tonight.
100%. Of course, thank you as well to you, Jacob, for coming in here and calling the race with me. Of course, big shout out to Austin Derbyshire down behind the cameras, always doing an awesome job showing us all the replays and some of the stuff that we miss. But on behalf, of course, all of our partners, Justin Levine, who definitely we appreciate him, Taylor Burris, of course, Champion Power Equipment for putting the trust in us here in the broadcast. Of course, definitely appreciate everybody out there, especially the audience that tuned in here. Of course, make sure you like and subscribe. We're going to have much more action to come in the future. Of course, thanks for watching Grid Vision. We'll see you next time.